Welcome to tonight's council meeting for February 5th, 2019. This is a special meeting that replaces the canceled meeting of January 29th last month. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Nelson.
Here.
Hildebrand.
Here.
Fernsler.
Here.
Wilson.
Here.
Gonzalez. Hanson. Sedlacek.
Present.
Gilson.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is the pledge. Please stand. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on, next item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second, Hildebrand.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Gilson. Nelson.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to item 4, this is where the audience signs in as recognized by the chair. Tonight, no one has signed in. We do encourage people to come in, sign in, and tell us what's on your mind. That's when you do the talking and we do the listening. Moving on to item 5, resolutions. Resolution number 1, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Plymouth, Wisconsin, establishing the 2019 compensation for seasonal recreation position. Director Austin, you want to give us some insight on this, please?
Sure. So typically in the past, the seasonals were part of the all-employee one that was adopted last year for budget. But this year, I wanted to pull out the seasonals to look at what we compensated, mainly our lifeguards at the pool. We have had a hard time finding lifeguards the last couple seasons. One is they can go get jobs other places for more money, or there's a lack of kids working. But this is also, the biggest pay increase would be kind of for the head lifeguards, which is trying to get college kids back, which we're going to Masters Gallery and stuff to go working instead. So those are the biggest increase in pay. I did run, taking kind of last year's seasonal hours and converting it into the, if this was approved, what the additional pay would be. Currently, we budget $125,000 for wages at the pool, and even with this increase based on last year's hours, it would be covered under the 125.
Okay, thank you. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
I'll move that we approve resolution number 1, the resolution establishing the 2019 compensation for seasonal recreation positions.
Second, Nelson.
We have a first and a second. Any questions? Any discussion? Is this a full-time position for the recreation director, or is it just a seasonal full-time?
These are all seasonal. All these
Seasonal.
positions are seasonal.
Okay. Any other questions? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Item 6, no items were removed from the consent agenda this evening. Moving on to item 7, new business. I'm sorry?
Did you take B out?
Are you on the revised
Yes.
agenda for this evening?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mark down one demerit for Alderman Sedlacek, please, starting the year out. Moving on to item 7, new business. The mayor asked for the approval of the appointment of Alderman Jack Fernsler to the Public Works and Utility Committee. The chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the appointment of Alderman Jack Fernsler to the Public Works and Utility Committee.
Second, Alder Nelson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, Alderman Fernsler. Moving on to item B, approve application for room tax permit for the Heart of Plymouth House, 126 East Main Street, from John and Brenda Straub. Clerk Huber, do you want to tell us what that's about?
Yeah, John and Brenda came to the office and said that they are looking to possibly start apply for a room tax permit to work through, I believe Airbnb is what they were considering doing. I don't, and so this is a standard permit that is required to start that type of a business. And I did consult, with Inspector Pete Scheuerman. It is in the correct zoning, and I believe Attorney Fieber is also emailed in on that too, that it is correct, that they would not need a conditional use permit through the Plan Commission or anything like that. So it's
Okay.
just a standard permit, an annual permit where they file annual reports, quarterly reports, and like all the other hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts in town.
And they collect the sales tax then?
They collect,
that
well,
rent.
sales tax and room tax.
Right, okay. Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second, Alderman Zavacek.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion or questions? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item 7C, approve purchase of Trojan UV system for the wastewater treatment plant from Mulcahy Sean Water, Cedarburg, Wisconsin, in the amount of $99,500 to come from utility budgeted capital improvements. Director Austin.
As part of the 2019 budget, we approved the UV system for down at the wastewater treatment plant. We did get 2 quotes. There is a significant price difference. So the Mulcahy Shaw fits into our existing channel, where the other, the TAK 55, we'd actually have to do channel modifications for that equipment to fit within the constraints of our existing facility. So that's the biggest cost difference, and also the other one would take a larger power supply and everything else. So we're asking for, to get the approval to purchase the Trojan UV system. They've been around a long time. There would be, a few extra costs for just hooking up some of the equipment, but for the most, this would be the bulk of the cost for this project.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion for approval of the Trojan UV system in the amount of $99,500.
Motion to approve.
Second, Alder Nelson.
We have a first and a second. Any questions? And that is budgeted in the capital
Correct.
improvement?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's just simply coming out of that
Correct.
bucket? Okay. Any other questions? Clerk, John?
Mike feels pretty confident this will take care of
Correct.
disinfection or?
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good question, John. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Wilson,
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Hildebrand,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Moving on to item D, approve proposal from Aries Associates Madison, Wisconsin to prepare a ADA Title II accessibility audit and transition plan for the amount of $24,595 to come from the City Capital Improvement Fund. Director Austin. You might as well just stay up there tonight.
No, this is my last one. So as part of the capital plan, was to hire a consultant to look at our public parks, our public buildings, or the portions that are public within the public building for ADA accessibility. And so we did go out and get 3 quotes from engineering firms and architectural firms that have done this in the past. So we did get 3, and they range in price from the $24,500 to $32,000, so they're all pretty comparable. So our recommendation would go with the lowest. We'll kind of get the same product from any of these places. And so that would be to Ayers for $24,595.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion so we can discuss.
So moved to approve the proposal from Ayers Associates.
We have a first and a second to approve the Ayers plan in the amount of $24,595. Any additional discussion? Clerk will call the roll, please.
Gilson. Nelson.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Motion carried, thank you. Item E, approve volunteer time off policy and authorize the use of up to 2 sick days per year as paid time off for volunteering activities. And finally, we have, our administrator gets to chime in tonight. Brian.
Thought I had the night off there for a minute. This is something the Finance and Personnel Committee talked back in August of last year about the idea of authorizing the use of a limited amount of sick leave for volunteering activities within the community. A draft policy or concept was then reviewed in January of this year, and the committee recommended moving forward. The one thing I want to clarify is that we're not adding any additional benefits to city employees in terms of additional sick leave. Basically what it does is it allows the use of up to 2 days of sick leave for volunteering activities within the city limits or our Plymouth Utilities territory. And the purpose of that is kind of for 3 reasons. One, trying to provide a better connection between our employees and the community. 2, providing opportunities for employees to potentially volunteer together outside of the normal workday. And then also 3, to provide an alternative response. Many times we receive lots of requests from nonprofits for monetary donations, which we haven't been able to do for quite some time. And this would be an opportunity where our employees could give back in a way by donating their own leave time for the purposes of volunteering. Again, it's not absolutely critical that this be approved, but it's something that we talked about to provide our employees with a greater opportunity to serve the community.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve so we can discuss.
I move that we approve the volunteer time off policy as described.
Second, Wilson?
We have a first and a second. Any discussions or questions? Administrator Jurgis, you indicated that this would be a net neutral, no additional cost to the city because they're doing this on...
We're not giving additional sick leave, so they're using their existing sick leave
Right, so they're
benefit.
using existing, so there's
Correct.
no additional cost to the
Correct.
city. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll, please.
Wilson.
Yes.
Sedlacek.
Yes.
Fernsler.
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
And this goes into effect what date?
We would roll it out through an HR communication sometime over the next month.
Okay, so in 19.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, motion carried. Moving on to item 8, the chair entertains a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 per N1 per NG conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved regarding court action for 41 Selma Street, claim against the city from Johnsonville Sausage Company, and possible petition for contempt for WSOR. And also entertain a motion to go into a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85 paren 1 paren E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session regarding land purchase from Plymouth Industrial Development Corp. The chair will entertain a motion for closed session.
Motion for closed session.
Second, Gilson.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Clerk will call the roll for closed session.
Fernsler,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Sedlacek,
Yes.
Gilson,
Yes.
Hildebrand.
Yes.
Motion carried. We'll wait for the room to clear.